last instructions that Gideon gives before the battle is a real leadership call. He says, when we come to the battle, just do as I do. I mean, that's real leadership. Leadership is a real key in the Church of God. We do need gifted leaders. We need leaders like Gideon, whom God has called and commissioned, and know in their hearts, God has called me to lead. Not just to be a teacher, not just to be theologically trained, if I can put it that way. I know as a young man, I was very nervous of that concept. Well, go away to Bible college, get your kind of degree, and then they'll put you in a church. Now, leadership is not just getting a theological qualification. Leadership is other than that. Leadership is something that God does. He puts leadership in a person's heart. And Gideon was anointed by the Spirit, commissioned by God. God said to him, have I not sent you? He knew he was a leader, and people rallied to him. There was a kind of spontaneous rallying to him. He knew he was commissioned. He blew his trumpet. The people gathered to him. It was a supernatural thing. You get a similar thing with David. God anointed David, and then it says people came over to David. It's interesting. It says mighty men came to David, and the Spirit of God came on them, and they said, we are yours, O David. And he received them and appointed them to be captains in his army, and an army grew like the great army of God, it says, under David's leadership. His leadership was key. He had led against Goliath, if you like, when he was hardly in a leadership position, but he was a fighter. He knew how to win battles. And in fact, when they made him king, they said, even when Saul was king, you were the one who led us out and led us in. Leadership is something of a gift of God. And Paul's quite unashamed to say, I've set my life before you as an example, that you follow it. He actually uses the word imitate. He said, imitate me. You imitate me. Like Gideon said, do as I do. So leadership isn't just a kind of theological qualification. It has to do with character. It has to do with gifting. And so a person gets called by God to lead. That's why it's so important, dear friends, that church is not like some sort of democracy where we all have a vote and we all have the same clout. No, God raises leadership. Now, we need to be very careful. And elders, we're told in the New Testament, had to be men of real caliber. Even in the world, they were to be respected people, as well as in the church. They had to be good managers of their own homes to show that they could help manage in the church of God. And of course, in the New Testament, it's not an isolated guy, but a team of guys, elders, people together. Now, there will be a team leader. A team leader is so important, to be perfectly honest. In anything, in industry, people go head hunting to find a team leader, someone who can lead their company. Or in education, a good headmistress, a good headmaster can turn a school around. A good captain of a soccer team, a cricket team, it makes all the difference. Leadership inspires, motivates, but it has to be authentic. Jesus said to his disciples, look, the Pharisees, he said, you may want to listen to what they say, but don't do what they do. There has to be integrity. You need to be able to see a heart, a life. Paul said, we appeal to every man's conscience. In other words, men and women in their heart felt, I feel good about following this guy. Because Paul said we appeal to their conscience. They feel comfortable with this guy's leadership. They feel this is a God-given leader. I want to follow his leadership. Beloved, that's how the church is built. And it's very relational. It's very relational. You feel I could give myself to this guy, to this leadership team. I feel safe in their leadership. Doesn't mean we don't all have a part. Yeah, we have a living body, many different gifts that we bring. But leadership is a key. And this is one of the key phrases in the Bible. You do as I do. In other words, I'm going to do it. I'm not just going to tell you to do it. I will be there. I will be exemplary. If there's a prayer time, I'll be there. If we're invited to give, I'll be there. I'll be giving. I'll be praying. I'll be involved. So you're accessible as a leader. So let's pray God raise up some great leaders. And hey, let's all be good followers. We see a great army like the army of God.